Have you ever walked back towards something you ruined and felt your heart pounding like it might break your ribs? Because you want to go home, but you're terrified of what home will say when it sees you. Picture it. Dust on your clothes, shame in your throat, a rehearsed apology on repeat in your mind, and the haunting thought, what if I'm not welcome anymore? Today I want to tell you a Bible story that feels like a mirror. Because it's not just about a son who left, it's about a father who never stopped looking. This is the story of the prodigal son, and the moment love outruns shame. Jesus tells this story in Luke 15. There's a father with two sons. The younger one is restless. Not necessarily evil, just restless. He wants life on his terms. No rules, no waiting. No, not yet. And one day, he does the unthinkable. He walks up to his dad and says, "Give me my share of the inheritance." Now to us that might sound like, "I'm ready to move out." But in that culture it's closer to saying, "I want your stuff." More than "I want you." It's like saying, "I can't wait for you to die, so let's pretend you already did." And you can almost feel the silence after those words. But the father doesn't slap him, doesn't shame him in front of everyone, doesn't lock him in the house. He gives him the inheritance, and that's the first emotional punch of the story. Real love doesn't always force you to stay. Sometimes love opens the gate, even when it knows you might walk straight into a storm. So the son leaves. He heads to a distant country, a far-off place, where nobody knows his name and nobody asks questions. At first, it feels like freedom, like flying. He spends money like it's endless. He surrounds himself with friends like it's permanent. He fills his days with noise so he doesn't have to hear his conscience. And for a while, he's convinced this is living. But the thing about freedom without wisdom is, it's fun until it's expensive. And eventually the money runs low. The laughter gets quieter. The friends get harder to find. Then a famine hits. And here's what's brutal. The famine didn't create his problem. It exposed it. Because when life is easy, we can pretend we're okay. But when life gets tight, what's real shows up. He's desperate now. He takes whatever job he can get. And the only door that opens is humiliation. He ends up feeding pigs. Now, if you grew up hearing this story, you might skip past that. But for a Jewish audience, pigs weren't just animals. They were unclean. This wasn't just a low job. This was rock bottom with mud on it. And there he is, standing in filth, listening to pigs eat. And he's so hungry that he starts craving their food. That's not just poverty. That's the moment your pride finally runs out. And maybe you know that moment, not literally feeding pigs, but that moment when your choices catch up to you. When your "I've got this" turns into "I can't fix this." When you look in the mirror and barely recognize who you became. And the worst part isn't what you lost. It's what you start believing about yourself. You start thinking, "I ruined it. I went too far. I don't get to come back." Because shame doesn't just say you did something wrong. Shame says you are something wrong. And the son, starving and shaking inside, begins to remember. His father's house, not the furniture, not the money, not the status, the warmth, the safety, the belonging. And then a terrifying thought hits him. I could go home, but I'm not a son anymore. So he starts drafting a plan, not a restoration plan, a survival plan. I'll go back, he thinks, and I'll beg to be a servant. Which is exactly what shame does. It convinces you that if you return, you must return small. But then, right there in the mud, the son makes a decision that changes everything. He says, "I will arise and go to my father." That's it. No excuses. No bargaining. No pretending. Just honesty. He rehearses the words. "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I'm not worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants." And he starts walking. Step by step, he moves toward the place he's afraid he no longer deserves. And here's the thing. Repentance isn't a fancy religious word. It's a U-turn. It's the moment you stop running from love, and you start walking toward it. Even if you're unsure, even if your knees are shaky, even if you're thinking, what if I'm rejected? He keeps walking anyway. Now watch what the father does. The son is still far away, not even close, not cleaned up, not presentable. And the father sees him, which means the father was looking, not once, not casually. He was scanning the horizon, maybe every morning, maybe every evening, Maybe every time he heard footsteps in the distance. Because love doesn't stop hoping, even when it's been hurt. And then, the father does something that would have shocked everyone watching. He runs. In that culture, older dignified men didn't run. Running meant lifting your robe. It meant looking undignified. It meant choosing love over image. And the father doesn't jog politely. He runs like his heart has been waiting for this moment. He reaches his son, this boy covered in dust and regret. And he doesn't stand back. He doesn't say, "Where have you been?" He doesn't say, "I told you so." He doesn't say, "Prove you've changed." He throws his arms around him and kisses him. Before the apology is finished. Before the explanation. Before the promises. And right there, this is the gospel in a picture. Grace meets you on the road, not after you've arrived perfect. The son starts his rehearsed speech. "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I'm not worthy." But the father interrupts him. It's like he can't bear to hear his child begging to be less than family. He calls to the servants. "Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him." The best robe, meaning honor, not the servant's cloth, the family's finest. And put a ring on his finger. A ring wasn't jewelry. It represented authority, identity, belonging. It's the father saying, "You're not a guest here. You're not on probation. You're my son." And put sandals on his feet. Because servants went barefoot, sons wore sandals. This is restoration with receipts. Then he says, "Bring the fattened calf. We're celebrating." A fattened calf wasn't a snack. That was a village-level party. Which means the father isn't whispering forgiveness in a corner. He's announcing restoration out loud. And the father says the line that breaks people open. "This son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." Pause softer. Do you hear it? Not my servant. Not my disappointment. Not my problem. My son. Some of you listening, you're the younger son. You're not proud of where you've been. You're tired. And you've been rehearsing apologies in your head like, "If I just say it right, maybe God will tolerate me." But this story is here to tell you, God isn't standing with crossed arms. He's watching the road. And when you turn back, even messy, even shaky, he runs. Others of you, you feel like you don't deserve to be called family anymore. You think, "I'll come back, but I'll stay in the shadows. I'll come back, but I won't ask for joy. I'll come back, but I won't expect love." But the father in this story doesn't offer you a corner. He offers you a robe, a ring, sandals, a seat at the table. Because God doesn't just forgive you, he restores you. And maybe you're the older sibling in the story. The one who stayed but grew cold. Maybe you look at grace and think, "That's not fair." But love isn't earned like wages. Love is given like mercy. This story is not saying consequences don't exist, saying your failure doesn't get the final word. So if you're far off today, if you're walking back with a heavy heart, remember this. The Father is not waiting to punish you. He's waiting to embrace you. And when you take that first step home, you'll find that grace has already been running toward you. You are not too far gone. You are not beyond mercy. You are not forgotten. You're being looked for. And if this story hit you, share it with someone who needs a way back.